That's the way they are, the way they are.
The bigger they are.
That's important.
Thanks, man. Cheers. How are you all doing? Welcome to the final event, I think, of the year for the DIT DJ Society. Fair play to Cal for organising this last event, because mental health is a very prevalent issue in society and has been for the past, well, God knows how long, but it seems to be a rising trend at the moment. It's also actually correlating with a very dangerous trend in terms of climate change. They reckon by 2030, mental health related illnesses will probably cause more deaths than cardiovascular diseases, war, car crashes, accidents, all put together. And that's in around 12 years time. So 2030 is around the same time that the planet's supposed to start suffering due to carbon emissions and things like that. So we're kind of at a bit of a turning point in society, I suppose, at the moment. We don't really have a lot of time left, so more awareness needs to be brought about in terms of climate change and mental health. So bear in mind, we'll be covering a lot more things about climate change in the new year. Your environment plays a massive role in your mental health. But your environment can mean many things, where you hang out, who you hang out with, what sort of food you're consuming, what sort of chemicals you're consuming, whether it's alcohol, cigarette, drugs, whatever the case may be. We'll cover a bit of that in the talk here. Tonight we're going to cover 3 Dublin-based DJs, as you can see. They'll be discussing their busy schedules, their jobs, their college, and if there's any questions anybody has, we want to keep this kind of a group orientated discussion as well. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask questions. Just try not to talk over everybody if you can, and we can try and get as much information out of it as we can, as much information as possible, pardon me. I'll give you a very, very brief introduction to what Bear in Mind is. Bear in Mind is a social enterprise that is just about to start here in Ireland. So basically what we do is we operate as a business, and we'll be running small events which we like to try and keep for free. We'll be offering psychotherapy, gym memberships and wellbeing related events to people that are in the creative industry. Money is obviously a big factor when you're starting out as an artist, as I'm sure the lads will tell you. But things like psychotherapy and exercise and good diets and access to facilities if you need them are compulsory. The government doesn't seem to have a lot of interest at the moment in things like that, so we are going to operate on the basis that we will try and subsidise things like that. We'll be selling artwork and t-shirts. We're looking to develop a product for a festival, which I can probably get into more details on that in a couple of months. We just won't be talking about it tonight. That's kind of what Bear in Mind is. I'll discuss a little bit about myself during the talks, just purely based on the idea that I'll use myself as a reference for certain things if I want to get a point across. Mental health is quite a touchy subject for a lot of people, so if I use myself as an example, it's just my experience. I'd also like to point out that nobody sitting at this table is a doctor or a physician or a therapist or anything like that. So if you do suffer from a mental health problem, be sure to consult somebody if you want to make any changes to your life, if you hear something that you think might appeal to you at this discussion. So first up, we have good man himself, Mr. Jonathan Kiely, who you may well know is the current promoter in 3940, isn't that what they call it?
Yeah,
these days?
manager, yeah.
The booking manager for 3940 in Aungier. Jonathan has been involved in the dance scene for well over the better part of a decade now.
Yeah.
And played around various clubs, supported X amount of DJs, too many to mention. You can catch him most Sundays. I think it's every second Sunday in the Wawa Club. Come and take a seat, lads. Sounds how are you? All right. As I was saying, you can catch him every second Sunday in the Wawa Club, and playing at most festivals during the summer. But most notably, he has been involved in a highly successful festival, Higher Visions, which began. This is on its second year now, is it?
Going into its third year.
It's going into its third year. They sold out this year, is that right?
Yeah.
They sold out this year as well. So Jonathan has been selected by DIT because he boasts a decent enough career, a fairly respectable career in the industry, you might say, and he has come from a lot of personal struggles himself over the years, which we will discuss very shortly. But obviously personal struggles come with mental health problems themselves. So he's also engaged to be married to his beautiful wife. But thanks very much, and we look forward to getting some contribution from you tonight. Thanks a million, Jonathan. Next up, we have the very sound, the very talented, and the very well respected DJ Sarah Mooney. I was actually asked to locate one more DJ for the panel, so I picked Sarah myself because she fits the bill perfectly. She's in her final year studying digital media, which I'm sure many of you guys can appreciate. It's a busy time in anybody's schedule on top of DJing. So she's played across many venues as well. Yeah, so she's extremely busy in her personal life, but she still managed to play many venues across the city. Well, whatever venues are left in the city at this stage. And the reason she's in demand is quite because of her excellent skills behind the decks and her song selection as well. So she's quite a versatile DJ, and she has warmed up for Scream, Culture, Jekka, Sam Paganini, is that how you pronounce his name? Paganini. You have to let me away with that one. Patrick Toppin, Ways and Odyssey, B-Traits, Fritz Kolper, and many more. And Sarah's also graced the stage in many of the big festivals like Live Festival, Boxed Off, Longitude, Castle Palooza, Metropolis, and Electric Picnic. So consistency is Sarah's thing, and consistency is what a lot of people need when they're starting out. So hopefully we can pick our brains for a few minutes and see what we can get from that as well. So thanks for joining us. Then last but not least, should I say, sorry. See, I'm getting a little bit nervous here, but I'll explain what's going on in my brain and you'll give me a bit more leeway then. But anyway, last but not least is Mr. James Hannan. James has been DJing for over 8 years and doing sound production and music production and sound engineering. He's played at many major festivals like EP, C Sessions and Longitude. He has residencies in Opium Rooms, the Right Venue, South William, the Academy in Dublin. Is it still called the Academy, is it?
Yeah, the Academy Dublin, yeah.
Right, yeah. Oh, it used to be called Spirit, that's what it was. Show me age. But yeah, and he's played in many clubs up and down the country. James has also struggled with his own personal issues as well. So once again, another hard-working DJ. He's also warmed up for the likes of Steve Aoki and Route 94, Weiss, MK and Low Stepper. And he has guest slots in Hijinks and Toast Dublin as well. So as you can see, each DJ in their own right has an impressive CV, and they've been kind enough to come in and discuss some issues that are, they're getting talked about a lot more these days, but I mean more awareness is kind of, I used to be under the opinion that we'd raised enough awareness about it, and we needed to start implementing more practical plans into our own personal lives. But I mean, the advent of social media, I like using social media in my own mind as a good gauge sometimes for, there's still a lot of people that are quite uneducated when it comes to mental health illnesses, and they overlook it a lot, and we overlook some quite simple things that we can do to look after our mental health. So I think, a lot more awareness is needed. The thing with mental health events and things like this as well is that people might go to one mental health event and they go, right, great, we're all good now. And, mental health upkeep is like your physical health. It requires constant maintenance and attention. And if you ignore it, your body will let you know. So if there's ever events like this on, I'd encourage people to always go to them, always be talking about it. And the thing with information is we're in a wash of information these days, whether it's from the computers or our phones or advertisements, telling us to buy the next best thing. It's kind of hard to weed out what the actual proper information is. So I think you should kind of consider getting as much valuable information as you can at events like this, and it's always good when it comes from the horse's mouth, as they say. So give the lads a round of applause for turning up and anyway. Right, so I suppose normally this is something that's skirted around. We're just going to jump straight into it. The lads sent me a little kind of a program of things to discuss. And the first thing when people think of dance music is...
Drugs.
There you go. Drugs. Now, when someone says drugs to me, I don't immediately think of illicit drugs. The way people word, they say alcohol and drugs. It's the same thing, really, essentially. Alcohol and drugs are the same thing, the same way it's cigarettes, Coffee is the second most traded commodity after oil on the planet. And it messes around with your sleeping patterns, and your sleeping pattern is a key component of your health. So, you know, the thing with alcohol and drugs and coffee and cigarettes, they are categorised kind of slightly differently, but that's only because of the way, you know, marketing agencies have kind of advertised these things to us. I mean, some people think they might be more morally upstanding because they just drink and they don't take cocaine, or they just drink and they don't take ecstasy. But in an actual fact, you're no safer than the next person. If you think you're any safer just because you drink, you're exactly where the marketing agency wants you. Alcohol kills more people than AIDS every year. It's reached epidemic levels. That's not to mention the amount of car crashes it causes, the amount of people that they have to repair in A&E, Alcoholics Anonymous. It destroys lives. You know, and the same thing can be said for illicit drugs as well. But when it comes to things like addiction, I mean, you can be addicted to many things. The brain responds the same way to heroin as it does sugar. So we're going to start off with things like heavy drinking, constant sessioning, hangovers all weekend, casual drug taking, and its links to creativity and anxiety and stuff like that. So Jonathan, I think I might be right in saying that you spent a bit of time in rehab years ago, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll let you explain to the crowd if you'd like.
Well, I suppose my history with mental health and stuff like that, like it dates back to like me youth, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I started taking drugs casually, like when I was about 15, like taking ecstasy and sort of like graduated to cocaine, like, you know what I mean? Like, for better, use of a better word, like, but
I hear you.
I was an early starter and an early finisher because, like, I went to rehab when I was 21. I went to a place called Kiely.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, what age are you now?
I'm 32.
32,
so,
okay.
Yeah, I'm like coming up to 12 years of all drugs. Like, I mean, I don't mean legal drugs because I still drink alcohol.
Yeah,
but
that's
I
fair.
try and drink it in moderation now.
Well, that's fair, yeah.
But basically, I was like a bad abuser of, like, you know, like ecstasy, MDMA, cocaine. A lot of my friends, like, we didn't go out to clubs initially. We just used to stay back and session in gaffs and, you know, like, fucking, like, as you do when you're young.
Of course,
but then when I was old enough, I used to go out clubbing, like, and I'd take me pills or do like a couple of bumps. And then eventually it got worse and worse, and I got to a point where I was doing like fucking coke every day, like, you know what I mean? Like, basically, you know. So I had to go. I was hospitalised basically from having like bad heart palpitations and stuff like that, and that was a wake-up call, and I had to go to rehab basically. So I went to a place called Kiely out in Blanchardstown.
I know of it,
residential treatment. So I was there for 9 months, got myself sorted, like, and I've been off everything ever since. And then my career started within the events industry. Yeah. So I feel quite lucky because
you kind of got the nightmare part out of the way first.
Yeah, if I sort of had have been still, like, you know, taking drugs the way I was, like, and drinking the way I was, like, then I started working within the industry. Like, I genuinely don't think I'd be here now, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a very valid analysis of it as well, And when Jonathan said abusing drugs, I think that's a very important thing to highlight as well. There's two types of people that take drugs. There's people that use drugs and there's people that abuse drugs. And when you abuse drugs, that's when the problem starts. It's three things. It's fun, then it's fun with problems, and then it's just problems. You know, and this is a mental health event, but I mean, we can't be seen to be condemning nor condoning drugs. Drugs are a part of society now. It's just something we have to kind of accept.
Just to add on to that, sorry, like, I sort of suggested this topic a little bit, if you know what I mean. And the reason I did was just because, like, I see it with a lot of my own friends and with, like, people that I know in the industry that, like, you're out and you do, like, you take drugs every weekend or whatever, and then the anxiety hits you throughout the rest of the week. Yeah. So there's definitely a correlation between the two.
Oh, 100%.
You know, because you're taking at the weekend to go out with your friends, like, to feel like you're up for going out, like, and to have a buzz, like, but then throughout the rest of the week you hate yourself and you're like fucking, you know what I mean? So it's like, what goes up must come down.
It's a common misconception, that people think that going out for a drink relieves stress. It would relieve stress momentarily. Then you're hungover, dehydrated, feeling sick, eating shit food for the next 2 days. You know, would you like to add to that, James? Or?
Yeah, like, I had massive struggles myself now. I just finished up recent treatment in the Rutland Centre for cocaine addiction and alcohol abuse. Like, it's hard to put a finger on it. Like, I started using it recreationally and going out and as a party style, just out with a few other friends, and then it became daily use. And then, as you said, it started fun, mixture of fun and trouble, and then just nothing but trouble. And everything was falling to pieces around me. Like my career started to slip. I started to miss gigs, everything left, right, and centre, constantly lying. And just my mental health was in an absolute state because I was yo-yoing the whole time.
Yeah, not a feeling.
Just constantly up and down, and became completely unreliable. Just couldn't do it. I was for lack of better, I was suicidal. I was just I used to enjoy what I did massively, gigged sober before. I didn't even touch drugs when I started DJing. I was against drugs completely. And then started using drugs recreationally, and then I started creeping into my work, and then I started to eventually I decided enough was enough, and I had to tackle it from because I just found that my mental health was suffering so bad, but I was hurting everyone around me. I was hurting my friends, I was hurting my family, and most of all, it's just like my head was a mess, and I just decided that I wanted to go and get clean, and thankfully I did, and a great support system, and especially from the music people, everyone in the music industry, was the outcry of support from so many people has just been absolutely so heartwarming. Like the support from my peers and everyone really has been super, and the late nights don't help, and then trying to dissociation with like late nights and drugs is huge. I didn't use drugs predominantly when I was gigging, and then I started using it during the day, and then that's when I started affecting my career. But I found it incredibly tough to even get up out of bed without using, and then any day I wouldn't use, I wouldn't be able to get up and do what I love to do because I was felt reliant on the drugs.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, pardon me, go ahead, keep going.
It's it was a absolute cluster of trouble at that stage, and thankfully everyone in the music industry, as I said, has been super supportive, and just I can't advise anyone sitting in these rooms, if you really want to get involved in music, just bear in mind to mind your head. Is what the topic is here.
Yeah.
To mind your head music, but you have to put yourself at the forefront, because I completely ignored it and just kept going on gigging and using, drinking, excessively partying, and it just wasn't something that.
It's just not a system that works for the human body. Basically, it just doesn't work that way. You can, it doesn't matter if you're a DJ or a producer or a promoter or a footballer or any of these things. At the end of the day, no matter what way you dress a drink up, or no matter what way you glorify your drug taking, you're poisoning your body essentially. This is probably going to be one of these things where you walk out going, Jesus Christ. But look, you have to be you have to be like, a healthy dose of, it's always good to be optimistic in the music scene, but there's also a healthy dose of realism as well.
Educating yourself important.
Exactly. Would you like to add to that, Paul? Sure.
Yeah, just like basically, like one of my friends actually turned around and was saying that you should bring up talk about how, you have friends that you only kind of have on the session, and that can be kind of, you don't really see them unless you're on the session. And I was thinking about it. But I was thinking about that, and then I was like, well, no, like loads of my friends that I have like from like the session and from the like nightlife scene, like a lot of them are here now, like in the crowd, and I know that if I have any problems, I can like open up to them.
Yeah,
and, like I don't know, like there's actually so many people around you, and like even though you might not think they're like good friends or that you could come to them with your problems outside of the session, like you can, like.
Oh, of course,
definitely. Like just to touch on what
you
said
go ahead,
there. Like
I don't want to keep calling it the session either. I'm just like
no, but it's
what
like
it is.
Like it's important like that. I think when you start DJing and you're out on that scene, like for use of a better word, like that tends to become your social circle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and then you sort of say to yourself, are these people only my friends because I'm partying with them, or because I'm DJing and they want to be out with the DJs, or they want to be with the promoters or whatever. But like if you actually reach out to these people, like, do you know what I mean? Like they will care, like, do you know what I mean? But you have to change your mentality first. You can sit there thinking like that. And I've often thought to myself, like you sort of like I lost sight of my actual older friends. Because I committed myself so much to like my career that I wanted to pursue. I was like, I want to be like fucking running these gigs, I want to be one of those gigs and whatever. And like I moved, literally took myself away from, I'm from Kiely like originally, you know. Moved away from Kiely, moved into town and just was like tunnel vision on what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? And that took over my whole life, like to a point where I had no other things in my life, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's, sorry to cut across you, that's a really valid point as well. The thing you have to understand about any sort of creative industry, or even if you want to do anything that you want to be really good at, it requires a healthy amount of work. But the thing about it is, like, I mean, you're producing on your, you know, your artistry or whatever it is that, whatever industry you want to get into. I mean, a lot of people will just, they will go tunnel vision and they'll tie their happiness to that. And then the object of your obsession becomes the object of your downfall. Because it's, I'm never going to be happy until I get that record deal, or I'm never going to be happy until I fucking, you know, get to play on the big stage. There's nothing wrong with just being happy now. It's as simple as that. And then what happens is, if you say to yourself, oh, do you know what, I won't be happy until I get this record deal, or I won't be happy till, it could be anything, I won't be happy till I get the guy or the girl or the card or whatever the fuck it is. By setting up that mindset for yourself, what happens is then you immediately have your starting point and here's your end point, and then you don't leave any time for happiness in here, because there's nothing's going to work until I get to here. You give yourself permission to be happy now. We can guarantee you that's the stuff that you know, if you don't put it up on a pedestal, it actually becomes easier to reach. You know,
you need to be grateful for like what you have.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's just I just wanted to point that out there, because it's a very big mistake a lot of people do. And you know, Robin Williams and you know Avicii, you know, unfortunately displayed to us that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water, basically. You know, so I mean, take that into account. If you tie your happiness to a particular goal, that goal becomes much harder to obtain. And then what we seem to be, the trend seems to be, then when you get there, you're like, well, still the same.
You've lost everything else.
You can't go on holidays and leave yourself at home, basically.
You
know, so if you have any mental health problems, they come into the industry with you, and they get to the other side of that fame thing that everybody chases. And at the end of the day, the whole fame and money and fortune thing is just a fucking bullshit story that's been sold to us. You know,
that's part of your ego as well. Like, you know what I mean, like when I say ego, I don't mean like cockiness. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, the ego.
Your ego is like
things,
is how you perceive yourself to be. Like your like opinion of yourself. That's your ego. You know what I mean? Like, so like within this industry, like fucking
that can get very.
If you're successful, if you're lucky enough to be successful, because a lot of it is luck. It's hard work, but it's luck and opportunities and stuff like that. If you're lucky enough to be successful, you then think to yourself, well, I have a reputation to live up to, like, and I have to do these things. Like, I got to a point where, like, I didn't want to run parties anymore, because it was like we were doing fucking, like, every gig seemed to be costing like a mortgage on a house, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and you're saying to yourself, right, well, I can't really do this smaller gig because people are going to be going, well, like, they're only been doing this big huge one last week. So like, you're paranoid in your own head. It's almost like if you become addicted to drugs, right? I know you sort of made this comparison to my friend last week, like where you start off, you're doing a small, like, you know, bit of coke or whatever, like, and then you get to a point where you could be doing fucking 5, 6, 7, 8 bags, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then you're not able to go back to doing fucking a small bit, because that's your addiction. Then it's like that's what you're you know what I mean? So it's like,
well, that's how addiction works. I mean, people think that addiction can be based on genetics and stuff like that, and there's a small amount of research that's been done on that. But the thing about addiction is, you have to you have to do what you're doing for an extended period of time before you actually become an addict. Nobody is born an addict. The same way nobody is born a racist, the same way nobody is born a... Am I allowed course on this camera? But it's, you know what I mean? Like, nobody is really... I personally don't believe that the universe or evolution kind of, like, you know, programmed us to be a particular way. Something we can get around to in a short while. It's got to do with things like neuroplasticity and an environment, and how our environment plays a massive role in things like that. But you're right. I mean, as I said at the start, I mean, you can just sit around and drinking and taking drugs and doing all these things all the time, and you will develop a tolerance and a dependency for it, you know. But the thing that you have to understand about what I said at the start is, when it comes to drug taking and then abusing drugs, it's that normally what happens with somebody that has an addictive tendency towards a substance, or, you know, you've got, like, as I said, you've got gambling, sex, porn, sugar, shopping, the internet. You know, the brain basically works the same way off everything. There's a part of your brain in your prefrontal cortex called the striatum. The striatum basically has this thing called the basal ganglia. If we have any biologists here and I'm not making sense, just shout it out to me. But anyway, the basal ganglia is basically involved in the brain's risk and reward centre. It's the motivational centre in the brain. We need it. We need it to go and get things, to do things. Like. And there's another part of your brain that has basically the dopamine pump in it. And the more you take the drugs, the more you drink, the more you do whatever it is that the object of your obsession, whatever your desire is, it becomes hijacked and it gets overwhelmed. And that can be anything from social media as far as heroin, you know?
Yeah, like social media, like dopamine is also known as the like digital heroin.
Exactly.
Because literally like, so every time you like get a like or a heart on Instagram or whatever, you're getting like a hit of a like psychological high.
Yeah.
So then you go back for more and you like keep wanting more and more and more. Literally, that's what it is. That's why they brought in the whole like thing and stuff, because it's addictive. Like, it's the same
social acceptance.
Like dopamine is the chemical in your brain, and like you get the same hit if you like smoke or drink or do drugs or go on social media and get like validated by other people.
And the sad thing about that is that Facebook's president openly admitted that they knew that they were doing that. They knew they were hijacking the dopamine response center in the human brain when they brought out Facebook, but they did it anyway. And that's why you've got people like they constantly, you know these people. There's constant selfies. There's constant kind of vindication online. 90 million selfies get uploaded to Instagram every day. Have a fucking day off, like. You know, it's just it's getting to a stage now. We've turned extremely inward on ourselves. And you know what? The thing about it is, like, I used to drink an awful amount of gargle, and I used to take a lot of drugs in my early 20s. And the thing about when it starts becoming a problem, the pull becomes something else then. And even now, we still find myself drowning on social media a lot, and I actually have to keep that in check as well. You know, I mean, like, I've come a long way from when I started, you know, in my early 20s. Like, I was in a bad state from anxiety and depression and things like that. But people think as well, when it comes to things like self-improvement and, you know, getting your shit together, that, like, you get to this stage where it stops. Like, you know, I still, you know, struggle with things daily. I still kind of have to keep myself in check. Like, if you have a mental health problem, or if you're coming from an addictive personality, it's about your life after you come out of that. You might agree with me, is that it's about maintaining the conditions where you don't turn back into that person, you know. But the take-home message from this discussion about alcohol and drugs is that essentially the brain responds to everything the same way in terms of addictive tendencies. So just make sure that you are very vigilant of it, because the thing with like advertisement and, you know, marketing and drink and drugs and all these things is that they over promise and then they under deliver, you know. And the thing with advertisement agencies and stuff like that is that they play on people's you know, self-consciousness. You know, they want you to feel inadequate so you can buy their product. Do you know that way? Or like, you'll drink loads of drink because you'll feel good momentarily, and then you'll have to go and do it again. What I would recommend, and this is just my personal opinion, is that it's all about balance. Start feeling like things are becoming a problem. That's probably when you deal with a problem. You don't know you're an addict until you're there, essentially, you know. But
yeah, no, 100% agree on that. Like, yeah, like from my own experience with like my drug addiction, like I didn't realise I had a problem until I was sitting in rehab. Like, so I mean, like, you know. And then you're like, fuck, I do have a problem. But like, and also like, I gave up drugs completely, but when I started to DJ, I used to drink heavily, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like, it wouldn't be unusual to get like 2 bottles of vodka in one night. Like, and I'm a big fella, like, so like, I could handle me drink, if you know what I mean? But it wasn't just because like I was drinking, it was like, so that I could be like, oh, do you want to drink, do you get me? Like, it was sort of like, to be held, like, feel like I was looking after the people that were around me and the DJs and like, you know, like their guests, like, you know what I mean, like, and sort of that, everything that comes with it. Like, if you're the promoter, especially, like, you know, you're the host, like, you know what I mean. So and that comes with its own social pressures then, like, because people expect you to be a certain way, and then my anxiety levels started to come up, like, you know. Even as a DJ, I was sitting, I said this before, I think to you, like, I was sitting waiting to play a gig in Cork, and Amy was with me, like, and I started to break out in these red blotches, like, and I didn't know what was going on, like, you know what I mean, like, and she was like, you can't play this gig, and I was like, no, like, I have to play this gig, they're after booking me, like, you know, I can't let them down, and it was like literally the pressure that I was putting on myself, like, you know what I mean, like, just because, like, you're expecting yourself to, like, sort of, you know, like, be 100% all the time, but nobody's 100% all the time, like,
not at all, and especially when you have to drink 2 bottles of vodka.
I didn't always drink too much, but yeah. But it's true, it's like,
right.
What you said about balance, man, it's so important. I've been at this for like every single weekend DJing for the last 6 years, and I've only started to get proper balance in my life in the last 6 months. Like,
yeah, and
you know,
and I can honestly say that as well. A point I was trying to make earlier on, I probably strayed off, which I tend to do normally, is that I mean my negative drinking and drug taking started off from a neglected childhood, and that's kind of, you know, I don't believe, well, everybody's on the addiction scale at some point in their life, or at some level or another, but anybody I've ever met or anybody I know that struggles with their mental health problems seems to come from a dysfunctional background. And, you know, that happened to me when I was fairly young, and then you get to a certain age where you start drinking and taking drugs, and then that went on for 10 years, and then you start kind of getting your shit together. And I only stepped down my therapist's office after being in there for 3 years. I only stepped out of the place about 2 months ago, and she told me that I wasn't displaying any symptoms of anxiety or depression or anything like that, and that's after 3 years. So, you know, if you do have a mental health problem, or you do suffer from anxiety or depression or any of these things, like, it's not a fucking overnight thing where you're fixed after a week. It takes fucking ages, because you have to understand how long you've been thinking in a particular manner, or how long you've been taking drugs, or how long you've been drinking or shopping or gambling or whatever it is. The brain is a habit-forming organ, and neuroplasticity basically dictates that the brain will adjust to its environment. It will rewire itself based on its environment. But that's also a downfall for us as well, because we can wire ourselves into horrible habits, horrible thought patterns, X amount of things. So yeah, you know, you could be years getting around to it, but what's the other option? I always say, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is if we can go back to acting the bollocks,
when I was in Kilmine, like, they had a saying, but it was about recovery. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like, recovery is a journey, not a destination. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly,
so
and I'm sure James
it's ongoing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, with anything, like, and yeah, like what you were saying about, like, if you feel like you're sort of overdoing it, like overegging it with, like, you know, your drug and alcohol intake, like, you know, if you think it is genuinely a problem and you can't stop yourself, like, you know what I mean, then you should reach out to people, whether it's your friends or whether it's like your family, like, you know what I mean, you can sometimes feel like, oh, I don't want to tell my parents because they might be ashamed, or they might whatever, you know what I mean, but they'd rather you be honest and help you to get the help that if you need. I'm not saying anybody in this room needs it, but
you know,
like,
yourself basically,
if you do, like, you know what I mean, like, it's nothing to be ashamed of, you know, like, because you can get back to a good positive place in your life. I personally saying, I can't even count how many people I know personally that have taken their own lives in the last like 5-6 years. Like, it's sad. Like, there's like off the top of my head, I can think of like 5 or 6 people that I worry about daily, that I think, like, am I gonna get a phone call? Like, you know what I mean? Because it's just so prevalent like in this day and age. When I done drugs at the time, it was pretty like a lot of people done it, but nowhere near as many as now.
As
like,
it is now,
genuinely, I stopped taking drugs 12 years ago. Like, I'm not saying like fucking there's anything wrong with taking drugs. Like, I'm not judging anybody or anything. Like, I've done it myself. Like, and I grew up around drugs. Like, you know what I mean? But like, how sort of socially acceptable it is now compared to how it was 12 years ago, even, and that's only 12 years ago. It is a lot. Like, you have these fucking Facebook pages like Catholics and pills and shit like that. I can't stand all that shit. I
noticed how like prevalent online it is, and people taking the piss out of it. I suppose.
Or even like people posting into
go ahead.
People posting into Tune Drop or not for folks don't prove it, but people posting stuff into Tune Drop and things like that, where like fucking you know, like, it could be just like something stupid, like with fucking, like, you know, like a bump on the key or something like that, and like like it's like fucking, oh, look at me, I'm mad sort of thing. Years ago, I didn't want anybody knowing I was doing a bump. I'd go into the toilet on my own and fucking do it. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want fucking everybody knowing about it. Like, I was not ashamed of it, but it wasn't something I was like proud of. You know what I mean? So I think it's just the attitude.
It's totally changed. Now it seems like the cool thing to be doing drugs and walking around with like the biggest bag of cocaine, or supplying the drink for everyone at the after party.
Or if I say I don't do it, like, say if I'm out in the club, like, and I'm probably the only person that isn't fucking doing it, like, you know what I mean? But like, they'll go, oh, do you want a bump? And it's like, no man, I'm alright, I don't do it. Like, it's like they look at me like I've 10 heads, if you know what I mean? Because it look like what you said. What's the first thing you think of when you think of dance music?
It's a problem as well, because dance music has so much more to offer people than just like you know, just taking drugs and drinking. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure like you guys have played a big amount of events and warmed up for a lot of DJs, and you know, you seem like the kind of people that are into it because you want to be involved in the culture, you know, rather than just going out and getting wasted. I mean, you can go and get wasted in any industry if you want. You know, unfortunately, like, you know, at the time when the summer of '88, I'm assuming it was, when the ecstasy hit Ibiza and stuff, and it was all brilliant and fun. And look, as I said, I mean, see, the funny thing, I know people that have absolutely no mental health problems, and they go out and they'll take, you know, casually take drugs, and then they'll go home and then they'll do their job and they'll do whatever they do, and that's the way it is. Like,
I think drugs though as well, like if you have any underlying mental health issues, drugs will bring that to surface. So like,
sorry, that's why I trailed off again. Actually, that's what I was trying to get at earlier on. For me, it was the same thing. Like, I mean, I had underlying mental health problems. I was a neglected child, and then I started taking drugs and drinking and all, thinking it was great. And you know, you kind of see, like, you know,
let's a mask.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, not to sound all soppy, you know, but it's like if you're a neglected child, you probably feel like you're unloved, and love is a very potent human emotion. So if you try and replace that human emotion with something as detrimental as drinking drugs, like, sure, what do you think is going to happen, you know?
Well, every person, like, has a reason why they take drugs, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you ask yourself, probably going to ruin everybody's night now, like, so, but if you go home and you ask yourself, like, why do I take drugs? Like, so I mean, like, I tell you why I took drugs. I took drugs to fit in, like, like, I took drugs, pills to go out with me mates, and like fucking when I was 15, there was this girl that I fancied. She was taking a pill. I was like, I'm gonna take a pill so I look cool to her. You know what I mean? And that's how it started, and fucking ended
kind of herd mentality.
Yeah, it just became an normalised thing. Like my parents were on heroin when I was growing up, like, so I was like around drugs from an early age. I was anti-drugs, and like I seen how detrimental it was. Like it destroyed our lives, but I still took that, and it was a social pressure. Like, so that was why most people take it either to escape something, like if they're feeling shit, it makes them feel a bit better momentarily, like you said, or else they do it socially to fit in, or else they might do it because they might just do it because it makes them feel good, like, you know what I mean?
But then once again, one of the reasons some people could take it is because it isn't causing them a problem, and they're going having a bit of crack, but just like,
once they're aware of it,
exactly, like, let's be real, like, that the human body isn't, and it's like James made a valid point about the nightlife thing. You're not designed to be staying up all night, essentially, and unfortunately, like, most times when you're out clubbing, it's at night time, and then you get home at 6 in the morning. I mean, you knock your body out of its circadian rhythm, like, you know, that's gonna cause like massive knock-on effects. They basically put, like, do you know, people that work on night shifts? So this would apply to DJs and promoters as well, I suppose. If you're working late nights, like, they've kind of deemed that the same as like carcinogens. It's on the same list as a carcinogen, which is alcohol, asbestos, cigarettes. Like, it's that bad for the brain, you know. Once again, it's like this talk is a bit, but you know, it's kind of you either want to know or you don't. You know, if you're going to be getting involved in the industry, you need to know the health risks. It's like any job.
I'm sort of being specific to like DJs and promoters. I'm not saying random people, because like some random people might go out, do fucking a few pills or do a few bumps, and then they might not go out again until a couple of weeks later. But if you're a DJ and you're working DJ and you're busy, you're out every weekend, and if that turns into 2, 3, 4 nights a week where you're out doing fucking bags and like doing pills and shit, like, that is definitely not healthy, like, do you know what I mean? Like, no matter what anybody says, like, you know what I mean? It's not like... And
just to kind of, while we're still on the subject, I mean, it's like, so for yourself, James, or even, you know, yourself, or any three of you really, I suppose, can take this question. I mean, what would you notice in the difference in terms of, like, if you've been out partying for a couple of weeks and then you go and try and make a mix or make a tune compared to when you haven't done anything for a while, you haven't been out at all? I mean, your productivity levels, I'm assuming, like, I mean, because I feel like, well, I used to feel completely different. Like, I wasn't doing anything on a Monday.
Like, you're completely fogged up for a start. Number two, you're so anxious from the come down of like the drugs and the drink that you're thinking, oh, what is this person going to think if I make it with this sort of style or this, and what is this other person going to think, oh, is this going to get me blah blah, and it's just this absolute funnel load onto the top of your head before you've even started to do anything, because then you don't want to do it, and then you don't end up doing it, and then when you do it, it doesn't flow naturally and you can't get into
forcing a kind of
it's a forced labour when it should be a labour of love, like, you know. It's like we're all involved in this type of the music industry because we love what we do. But when I was learning it, like, I found it, thankfully I knew a little bit about production going into college, so I'd already messed around with like Logic, Ableton, stuff like that. But it does have a massive effect, and especially on a Monday when I was out partying, like, I would not be able to get out of bed before 12, 1 o'clock in the day, because you've either been up all weekend, or you've if you're taking drugs, and if you're not taking drugs and you're just drinking, you're literally, your body's that poison that you have to sleep to try and recuperate your liver and all the damage that you've done to your body and to your mind.
There is literally no substitute on the planet for sleep either.
Yeah.
The cycle rate for a human is 16 hours. Anything after 16 hours, your brain just starts to degrade, basically. It's actually, there used to be a Guinness Book of Records where it used to be like who can stay awake the longest, like, and then they found out how bad it was for your brain to sleep, so they got rid of it.
They were playing.
And keep in mind that the Guinness Book of Records allowed Felix Baumgartner to die from the edge of the planet.
Yeah.
But yet they won't let people stay awake.
No. But sleep deprivation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like being on drugs, like, you know.
Well, there you go. That's how bad it is. So I mean, the thing when it comes to anxiety and depression and the link between alcohol and drugs, it's like one of the main components of that as well is that they used to think that sleep was like the holy or the sleep, nutrition and exercise is like the holy trinity of your well-being. Turns out now that it's more or less sleep. If you're not getting sleep properly, sleep just like if you get sleep deprivation leaks into your body like a fucking leak in a house of plumbing, you know that way, like.
Just sorry, what you were saying there, like I think also as well, like I used to sort of drink because I was nervous, like, so I mean, like, I'm a shy person, like, so I mean, like, as in, if you, like, in here I can talk because it's something that I've learned to do, you know what I mean, like, but if you came up to me one-on-one, like, it'd be hard to get 2 words out of me, you know what I mean, because, like,
I'm pretty similar.
Yeah, like, but it's a case of, like, where I think with DJing, you drink to sort of settle the nerves, and you go, oh yeah, like, that'll take the nerves off me, but then you get to a point where you're like, you can't DJ without having a couple of drinks, and it's like, I noticed myself, like, a lot of DJs are introverts, you know what I mean, like, they're not like, because DJing and DJing culture comes from, like, you have a set of decks, you're at home, you're in your bedroom DJing, like, you know what I mean, like, and then out of nowhere, someone asks you to play a gig, and you're playing in front of, like, fucking, like, it could be 50 people, it could be 150 people or whatever, but it's like, that's not natural, you know what I mean, like, so it's like, you drink because you're like, right, oh, that'll settle the nerves or whatever, and then it just becomes like where you can't DJ without having a drink. And
that's because I was going to ask Sarah, because we had a little bite to eat before we came in, and Sarah had a glass of wine. So I was just curious, what was that because of the nerves, or was that?
Sorry, I said so there.
And I mean, would you find that you DJ better sober or DJ better?
Oh, she's it kind of depends. Like, when I was in secondary school, I asked all my teachers to not ask me to read out in front of class.
Right.
I'm so bad. I'm surprised I'm even sitting here like looking at these people because I'm just so bad at like public speaking. But so I've always just been like nervous of like attention. Do you know what I mean? And then when I started DJing, like obviously the gigs I first had were like small enough, and then they start getting bigger and bigger, and like there's so much pressure. Like you're looking out at this crowd and you're just like, oh my god, they're all just like looking at me, and do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you need like, well, I always like have a drink.
Right. Okay. So
but even I remember at Barn Dance, like I was driving because I had to drive into town for another gig, so I had to drive. But I was drinking non-alcoholic beer, like.
Right.
Like it's just
something to have there.
It's something in your hand, and you're around like people that are drunk or on drugs, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah. It took me about 4 years to get comfortable to the point where like I didn't have to have a drink and DJ, and then I actually enjoy DJing more when I'm not drinking, because you're actually more like, you know, thinking about it, like, you know, I used to think, I play much better when I'm drunk and whatever, like, you know what I mean, like, but
you
like,
think you are,
I think you do, but when the nerves settle, like, you know what I mean, like, you feel like that actually, I can actually think about like maybe 4 or 5 tunes ahead where I want to bring the set and stuff like that, not just like banger after banger, you know what I mean?
If I was playing at a festival, I wouldn't have more than like 1 or 2 drinks. But then if you're playing like with your friends, like in Berlin bar or something, like you're like, bring a bottle of wine, and you know, like it just gets.
It's funny because I never used to get nervous. I honestly wouldn't never get nervous before a gig. I'd get more excited to actually get behind the set of decks and just go and do my thing and create something. That's where I got my kick from it from. That's why I loved it, and why I got a love for music from was that. And I never really wanted to do it for like the say of art of being a DJ because everyone wanted the affection from people. It's like, no, I had a genuine interest in the sonic side of it, and how it just, for some reason, from a young age, my mum even said it, like, it's from a very young age, be able to, it's like, oh, what are these noises, like, like sound would take a huge effect on me, and basically it was just, I'd never get that me personally, I'd never have to take a drink before I'd play, but I'd enjoy a drink while playing because it would because sometimes I'd get so serious into it that I'd forget what's going on around me and what I'm there.
Yeah, because you're getting in the zone.
Yeah,
which is something I want to kind of touch on a little bit as well. It's kind of leading into the next thing, because the lads were saying that they might have a drink and then sometimes you might not be able to go without a drink. But when we were talking in terms of, is there actually any people studying biology here?
Just DJ.
What?
Literally have an exam to come here. I missed a few minutes. Just can I tie in one thing? You were saying about how prevalent drugs are. So basically, I was out in Liverpool at the weekend. Some guy goes into the kitchen and comes back out, and he had the plate like full, lines ready to go, a ket, just at the party. No one had even asked him. He just came out and back with it. Then you were saying about how it can like affect your life and not knowing. Like I went back and like it was in Carlow. I'm from Carlow, sleeping in Carlow. And I set my exam and everything, or set my alarms and everything to get up for an exam. The first exam this morning, which I fucking missed, but basically I slept 16 hours instead of like the normal 8 hours. Even though I had alarms and everything stepped right through them. I came up and made the last exam and this, but like it was affected so many fucking
There you have it, folks. Loyal.
I didn't take the I was drinking out.
Sure you did.
16 hours.
It was the Tomorrowland Garden of Madness thing.
Right now, thanks for sharing, mate. If anyone else feels like they want to have any questions that they want to share, just shout out or raise your hand or whatever. But what will happen to people when you get into the zone, or when you as I said, neuroplasticity is a big buzzword around science at the moment, and I'm sure you can agree with that.
Yes, well, I mean, I should be studying more for only second year, like.
But basically, we used to think that the brain was set in a fixed position or a fixed kind of state when we got to a certain age. It turns out that the brain is kind of like constantly changing over time due to its environment. It goes through neuroplastic changes. So neurons are like electrochemical cells in the brain. And good way to describe it would be, remember when you started off texting on your phone, you were kind of slow, like, and after a month or two, you're going blind, well, this is, or even on your computer. These are all like minor changes that happen in the brain over time, but the brain actually isn't fixed; it's always changing. But what happens is, like, when the neuroplastic changes take place, that you have synaptic connections that happen in the brain as well, and you can. There's over 100 million neurons thereabouts, approximately, in the brain, and then each neuron can connect up. You have synaptic connections that can connect up to 10,000 other neurons. So there's almost a near infinite amount of ways your brain can wire itself, but that wires itself for better or worse. But what happens is we can undergo these waves of synaptic connections, changes and stuff in the brain, and this in turn shapes our experience. And it's kind of a two-way street, our experience shapes our brain, and our brain shape our experience. So they're what are known as feedback loops. They're known as feedback loops. They basically say that you remember the present moment, because your brain has to take in what's going on around you and has to build it up in the moment, but it also builds it up based on past experiences. So what happens is the brain is so it's like a prediction engine. You're always predicting what's happening in the moment. But if you get onto the stage and you feel like you need to have a drink every time, that becomes the norm for you. Or if you feel like you need to take drugs, or if you get into a bad habit of making certain things a certain way when you're making music, as I said, the plasticity will take place and work in that particular manner as well. So you can get stuck in negative feedback loops, basically, and then this is where you get like depression, anxiety, OCD, any sort of mental health problem, all the celebrity mental health problems that we all know of. But we essentially train our brain into a particular version of our own reality. So like learning an instrument, or becoming a good DJ, or practicing your emotional intelligence, it's hard to do if you already have learned a particular way of thinking or a particular way of doing something. So it's not only about learning something, it's about unlearning something. But you don't want to, it's like basically it'd be like, the thing, it's sacrifices, basically. If I want to learn something, or I want to do something, I've seen it happen before, and I used to do it myself. I used to go, I can go out partying, I can drink, I can take drugs, I can make music, I can be with my girlfriend, I can go to work. You have to understand that if you want to make any sort of a dent in the industry these days, you have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
That's basically the way I look at it anyway. I didn't make sacrifices in my 20s, so I've still a bit of a way to go now that I've kind of come out the other side of that. I could be further than I am now in terms of music. I run a small few events and, I still make music, but my mental health kind of stopped me from making music for a long time. Same thing with me. I actually worked myself up into a panic attack before making a mix because I was thinking of two people, which guy's going to like it more, and I gave myself an actual panic attack trying to make a mix. That's how bad I was. But that's why I had to just step away from everything for a while. What I do like about where I am now at the moment is actually I don't know my own potential now as a person because I've come out the other side of it. But know that the brain at the end of the day, people think the unconscious drives you. Like they say that's the internal engine that drives you. But your brain is still your brain at the end of the day. You still kind of have the overriding decisions. We are not passive recipients of the environment around us or reality. We are active constructors. We build the reality up around us. We build the emotions up around us in the present moment. So essentially you have the last shout, but it's all about picking your right environment, picking your time. As Jonathan said earlier on, there's a good point to make is that people think that the music industry is about it is a lot about luck, and luck is timing, and it's being in the right place at the right time. But I think it was Epictetus or Copernicus or Epicurus, one of the Greek philosophers, said that there's no such thing as luck. Luck is what happens when preparation and hard work meet opportunity. So just remember that, there is a healthy amount of luck that needs. It's what it is, like optimism should always be met with a healthy amount of realism. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you guys will know as well. Unfortunately, it is about who you kind of know sometimes in the industry. But I actually made a mistake of worrying about that a lot and actually forgot about the music.
Well, all you ever get is an opportunity. Yeah. I mean, you have to make the most of it, like, you know what I mean?
There you go.
Like, I tried for years to get gigs, like, as a promoter. I never actually wanted to be a DJ, which is funny enough. Because that's sort of what I became best known for, like, along with Strictly Deep, I suppose. But, like, I was like trying for years, like, you know what I mean? Like, I had loads of gigs that failed. I lost like grands and stuff, and like I took a break for a year, came back because it's what I like to do. Like I like to throw parties with me mates, like, do you know what I mean? Which is what, like, if you're becoming a promoter, that's generally what you do. You don't dive head first in unless like you're like, right, I want this as a career. But most people that are promoters are like, I want to throw a party with me mates, like, you know what I mean? Like in a little basement or whatever, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and like I tried to build it and grow and it was failing, and I kept trying again and failed and tried again, and eventually, like, a lot of venues, I get asked this a lot. I don't mean to go off
no, you're fine, go ahead.
A lot of people name me and go, oh, like, how would you break into the industry? Like, how would you get gigs? How would you, like, fucking, I can't get this venue to give me a slot, like, to let me, like, do a party or whatever. And I'm like, you have to sort of just take the nose, like, and, like, fucking keep doing your own thing, like, but that happened to me. Like, I approached, like, can I say the venues or just like? Like, I had meetings with with the Grand Social. I was like chatting to the Twisted Pepper this is years ago. I'm talking about fucking 7 or 8 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? I was running parties in Swords in the Slaughtered Lamb. Yeah. And like we were doing like the dirty word tech house, right? We were doing tech house, right? Before tech house wasn't cool. Before it was even cool in the first place. But we were doing that and like doing like sort of deep or new disco and that sort of stuff. And we were filling the place every second week. Yeah. And just charging a $5 or whatever, and we had people playing, it was good. But I was like, I live in town, I want to start doing stuff in town, like, and I approached these venues and I was like, I thought I made a good impression, but I just couldn't get the chance. Do you know what I mean? Like they wouldn't give me the opportunity, like you said.
Very true.
But eventually, one venue did give me an opportunity, and it was Sin, which wasn't the right type of venue for what I wanted to do. But it was the one place that was willing to give me a chance.
Yeah, so you built on that.
I just said, well, I'm just gonna make the most of this, like, and then within maybe a year or maybe 18 months, all these other venues that didn't want to know were asking me to do stuff with them. So it's like you have to create, as you said, like, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to take the opportunity that you have, and you have to create the sort of
path for yourself.
Yeah, like the path for yourself.
You
like,
have to be willing to fail.
No one's going to give you anything except for an opportunity, basically. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so they might say, here, do you want to fucking warm this fella up on Saturday night? And you might have plans Saturday night. Yeah. Fuck your plans, like, do the gig, like, you know what I mean? Like, no, like, I've had people like where people have literally like fucking hounded me out. Excuse me for cursing, man, but it's like I'm passionate about this, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I've had people like, I don't want to say the word begging because that's not like the right type of word, but I've had people attack me on social media like for not giving them gigs, yeah.
Yeah.
And then like fucking.
That's the best way, folks, to get a gig is to attack them.
Yeah, no, like literally, like I'm fucking over the weekend. Somebody was like, "You only give your mates gigs," and I was like, literally all my residents. I didn't know them before they were my residents. Like, like none of them were like, but like people will attack you and say, "Oh, like fucking." Like I'm not getting a gig, and I was like, you're not entitled to anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're not.
That's, do you know what?
You know?
If there was one thing to take away from this event, and I'm proud, I don't know why I haven't said it yet. You are, yeah. Like I mean, that's a very, very valid point to make. Is that I think society today has, you know, we live in Western society. Yeah, well, we live in the Western society today where we are.
Sense of entitlement.
We have this, like, I know we say the housing crisis is a big thing, and like it's good that we live with it. We have these social agreements where housing is a right, but I mean essentially, like, let's take away the social housing thing for a second. Like, you know, the like God or the universe or whatever it is, reality isn't obliged to moderate itself for your dreams. You know, and that's just the cold hard fact of reality. Like, you know, the reason why I say that is because if you just take your own responsibility and your own happiness and put it in your hands and take it out of the universe's hands and take it out of your promoter's hands, take it out of all these people's hands, that leaves you in the hot seat. Then you get to pick your own happiness. You get to decide when you want to be happy. You get to decide how much work you want to put in. And then let's say it doesn't work out for you this year. You can recuperate and come back and say, right, well, I know that I have all the responsibility, so what did I do wrong? And then you can go and pick them out and start again. I'm just going to move on to Sarah because we're kind of running out of time soon. Just as a female DJ, you get, you know, you're doing really well at the moment, and it's kind of a, you know, if you look at it is panning out, I suppose, at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of really good female techno DJs that are doing really well for themselves. I mean, would you have any advice if we have any female DJs in the room starting out? I mean, how do you feel about where it is now in female DJing in Dublin? Or?
Like, I never felt, I don't know, like
Treat differently.
Yeah, I never felt like I was treated differently at all. Like, the only advice I have is just go and do it. Like, so many people come on to me and they're like, "Oh, Sarah, like, I'd love to DJ. Like, can you show me a few things? Can you do this and this?" I'm like, "Of course. Like, you can come to my house. Like, and I'll show you how to use decks. Just get on to me." And then you never hear from them again. Do you know what I mean? Like, these people, like, they come to you and they're like, "I really want to do this. I want to do this." Then do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, like, if anyone wants to come over to my house and or like even Johnson's like going to be teaching lessons as well. Like, so you like just go and do it. You know what I mean?
I like,
and like, just because you're a girl, like, it is no difference
Well,
whatsoever.
so it's good to know now that that mentality is going to fade.
Yeah, as a promoter, like, I've never ever like looked at female DJs and male DJs.
Brilliant.
Like, you sort of
do
observe the music, you know what I mean, and what they play and what way they fucking promote themselves and deliver it. Like, that's all that's important.
So it comes out speaker the exact same way.
I did see on Instagram the other day there was like this female DJ and she like was literally wearing a thong. That was it, like, and she's there like giving it welly and like that's just like, if you're gonna get into it.
That's it. If you want people to respect you, you need to respect yourself first. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Yeah, and James, can I ask you? So, since you have kind of you've came out of, how long are you out of rehab?
I'm out of rehab now 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Well done. How are you feeling about, I mean, in terms of your work ethic and your workload from before you went into where you are now?
Before I went in, the attitude, oh, I can keep doing what I'm doing, blah, 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 and DJing. But I never had the association with DJing and drugs. It was always a complete separation. So I do drugs recreation. It didn't start off with the idea of using and DJing. I used because I was bored, because I was overworking myself at nights, getting up in the day, and then going and using drugs with people during the day. That was the problem with it. But for me, but I worked so hard for so long and didn't know when to stop. It's like John said, with only finding that work-life balance. It's so integral. Like, I can't stress enough. If you're feeling tired, don't do the gig. If you're feeling under stress, if something comes up, and don't be worrying about it, just text the person, give plenty of time, or any promoter or anyone, just say, look, blah, blah, blah. I used to worry about all the time, what is this person going to think and what is that person to think, because I hadn't addressed these issues because I had serious issues about people pleasing, you know, and I don't want to miss the gig and I don't want to do this, that and the other. And like, but that was because I wanted it so bad that I didn't want to be seen as, and then seen to be like letting people down for a start when I was used. But then when I started to gig more frequently, I'd take on way too much, and I burned the candle at both ends and wasn't allowing myself enough time to recuperate. And I started taking drugs and drinking then to try and taking the drugs to try and keep myself going, and then I ended up switching, and then I couldn't stop, couldn't even go to a gig unless I had a drug.
Yeah, really. Okay.
But coming back into the
coming back into it now,
coming back into it now, I'm learning to look after myself, to not take on too much on board. And sort of as John said, I pick the gigs you want to do. Pick the things that you think you're going to enjoy the most. Not for how much money you get, do it because you want to do it. And this is what I can't stress enough. Don't take the gig that's paying you the most money, or go and do the one that you want to do. Like why we started this, we've started this because we love to do it. So you pick and choose what you love to do, not for the paycheck. That's one thing I can't stress enough.
That's good advice.
It's 100%. Don't worry about what other people are going to think. Go, do you and be you. Wear it on your sleeve. That's what we do. And we all, thankfully, we all here wear it on our sleeve.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
What you're saying there, like, I've noticed it a lot, like, and there's discussions about it all the time. Like, play the music that you love to play, like, that you want to play. Do you get me? Like, there's pressure on DJs, like, you know, to what's the next trendy thing, like, what's popular right now. I need to be playing that. Like, you'll see someone that was like playing lo-fi like fucking 8 months ago. Now they're playing like banging techno, and next week they might be playing disco because that's what's popular. It's like there's no longevity in that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're always going to be seen as just like
fashion
following the trend.
It's what they say. Like, fashion changes, style remains.
Yeah,
basically.
So like, set your own fucking trends. Like, you can find your own uniqueness. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, as a DJ or as a promoter.
Absolutely.
Like, I ran Strictly Deep for like, I still do it, but it's like I pick and choose now when I do it. I was a slave to my own fucking brand, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like depressed down my head and up to here with anxiety, like fucking in debt and shit like that. And it was like, I had the worst year of my life. I like was 20 grand in debt, like, do you know what I mean? Going through personal issues and stuff like that. And I said to myself, enough's enough. Cleared me debt eventually, and it's like the happiest I've been, like fucking, and I can't remember how long, but I'm selective with what I do now. Like, if I want to do a gig, I'll do it. Like, promoting wise, I'm talking, because I'm sure there is people in here that are going to want to be promoters and run parties and stuff like that. But it's what you said there, that like sort of rings true, because I think there's pressure on DJs to be like, oh well, this is what's popular now, that's the only way I'm going to get gigs. No, like, if you play
not even what's popular, like over the last few months I've played such diverse gigs. Like, I could be playing absolutely like banging techno at Boxed Off, and then I'm asked to play like in the smoking area or something, do you know what I mean? And so like, I have to like kind of change my music all the time. But you like that is what I'm saying.
But
I find like I won't just go and play like, well, I'm not going to start like name dropping DJs, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't just go and play like what everyone wants to hear. Like, if I have to play house music, I'm going to play the house music that I like, do you get me? Or if I'm going to play techno, I'm going to play the techno I like. I'm not going to necessarily like just try to please that party, do you get me? If you're being booked, play what you want to play. Like, too many people feel like they have to change what they're playing because of the party that they're booked for, but they're booking you for a reason, so play what
that's it. Like, you have to sort of be true to yourself as a DJ, because if you don't have your own like fucking, what's the word?
No vibe.
No, it's like if you're not like genuine in what you do, like, it comes, people will cop on to me, you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely, that's good advice.
Like, I try and play gigs, like, I try and keep myself challenged all the time, because this is the thing in the music industry, it can become incredibly monotonous, and if you're doing the same gig over and over, I find a lot of DJs go in with playlists. I don't use a playlist at all. Like, I go in, this is my playlist, like, then that's where I find I get the most enjoyment out, because the challenge.
If it's a playlist, you might as well just take a CD on, like.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hope if, like, you know, people might be starting out, that seems like an attractive thing to do, but the whole idea with, I suppose this is just my opinion, with DJing, is to create a vibe amongst yourself and the crowd. I almost imagine, like, you know, I don't play an awful lot of gigs lately at the moment, but any time I do play, I always imagine just taking myself out of the fucking room altogether and just let the music do the work. You know, and it's about being a good artist is about picking the right music and letting the crowd follow you. And then you'll know whether you're good or whether you're shit.
Also, observing the crowd, like, reading the room. It's a
exactly.
cliche,
Have a look up, like, see what's going on.
And like, be a fucking student of like the art of DJing. Do you know what I mean? Like study other DJs and go and see DJs and what way they can fucking you know like back to backs are important because it's challenge. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'd just like to point out while we're talking about DJing and getting good at your trade. If you look at the people, look at people like Michael Jordan, who only made his like second team in the varsity college basketball team, or Albert Einstein, who finished with a mediocre kind of leaving cert or whatever you would have called it back then, and had to take a job in a patent office because he couldn't get a job as a teacher. Some of the greatest minds on the planet didn't display genius traits or exemplary talent when they were growing up, simply because it wasn't there. Talent isn't something you're born with. Talent is something that you hone over time. The brain, as I said, is a habit-forming organ. So, you know, the thing that separates people, the good from the mediocre, to the amateur, to the professionals, is mindset. You have a growth mindset and you have a fixed mindset. People with growth mindsets tend to do better. You're willing to fuck up, you're willing to make mistakes, you're willing to fail, you're willing to take constructive criticism off people. Be careful who you get your criticism off, you know what I mean? You don't want to be getting criticism off, you don't want to be asking your ex-missus to check what your tunes were like. Yeah. But the whole way it works, that if we have a fixed mindset, so remember BlackBerry, the phones? Yeah. It's gone now. Because the guy, I think his name was Jim Lazarizis or something, or Lazarus, the guys that had that company, they were the top thing back then, you know what I mean? Everyone had them on their hips and all. And then when iPhone came around, but they were, everyone, you know, all the presidents.
Sounds so old school.
Yeah, exactly. But what happened was, like, you know, when iPhone came out and had the touchscreen, then the guy who apparently was notorious for employing people that agreed with him, you know, and they were in a bubble of their own bullshit, basically, you know.
Yeah.
And what happens is, like, if you're trying to get somewhere with a fixed mindset, it doesn't leave you any room to grow. It doesn't leave any room for interpretation of what you're trying to do. So the thing I would say to people is that you go and you get criticism off your friends, you go and get criticism off people that are in the industry, and be willing to take the shit and be willing to take the stick. And if you feel like you're getting offended by somebody, if somebody's offering you good constructive criticism and you get offended by it, ask yourself, what part of your identity are you trying to protect by not changing or not taking that advice? Because the only thing that you're trying to protect, in my opinion, and for me, was that inner child that didn't want to be hurt, and that little kind of, you know, that part of me that went, oh no, my way is the right way. Yeah. One of the most revolutionary things for me in my own personal head was admitting that we fucking got a load of things wrong, and admitted that the way I was living wasn't working. But you can apply that to everything. You can apply that to your music, your DJing, provided you get the right advice off people. Yeah. So it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to fuck up and make mistakes.
You're going to fail far many more, so many more times in life than you're going to succeed. And you're only basing your success. You do not learn anything in life unless you fail. That's how you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And you take chances. If you don't take chances, chances are you may not fail, but you won't learn anything either. Like.
Exactly. Yeah, the man who made a mistake, the man who never made a mistake never learned a thing, as they say. Does anybody have any questions for any of the topics we've discussed so far, or anything? Come on, give us one.
Well,
that castle gig you're playing, Kiely.
Yeah.
What's the story of that?
It's fucking, it's BYOB, but like, it doesn't seem right to say that right now. Well, having 2 bottles of vodka with me,
if anybody wants to shamelessly promote themselves, now is the time to do it.
Yeah.
No, honestly, does anybody have any questions or any...
anything at all, like.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have any questions, that's fine. That's all. But look, I think we've come up to nearly an hour and 10 minutes now. We're going to kind of wrap it up there. But I wanted to get the lads in because they all, you know, display their own talents and skills in their own rights, and they've all come from, you know, particular hard places in certain stages of their lives, or they're pretty busy at the moment even, and they display a good juggling technique for career and working and stuff like that. I just kind of touched on a couple of things in terms of, like, I always like to try and get the neuroplasticity thing in and how the brain kind of works, because it seemed to be a very big buzzword around the self-help industry for a long time, but it's nothing kind of that we knew of, or not, it's nothing new. It's something that you do all the time, and it correlates a lot to, because I remember the last event I did, I think was in here, the last one I did in here, some guy came up to me at the end, he was like, tell me about neuroplasticity and how to be the best artist in the world, and I was like, but you know, he was really, like, the thing about it is, like, the stuff we've discussed and the stuff that we're talking about, it's like, it's things that you're already doing, or, exactly, and it's like, if you want to know how to optimize yourself, I'll tell you what, it's like if there was a pill on the market that you know, reduced your anxiety, it reduced your depression, it made you gain muscle, it made you lose weight, protected your body against, sorry I said depression, it protected your body against later illnesses in life, it builds confidence, it builds self-esteem, you know, it gives you a good routine, all of these things. It would be the biggest selling pill on the planet. It's exercise. And I can tell you that now from personal experience. Exercise is the universal health plan for every human being. There's a multitude of things that exercise does for you. There's no pill on the planet that'll do it for you. Or there is no substitute for exercise, and there's no substitute for sleep. So if you want to be the best artist you can be, and you want to maximise your productivity, you need to put the groundwork in. You start with yourself. I would recommend starting with yourself before you sit down there in Ableton. And I think the lads can agree with me in that.
Sure.
If you try and sit up to a computer or step up to the decks in a club and your head's all over the place, you're not going to be performing the way you should.
Yeah.
So that's basically, I was asked to touch on exercise and things like that, so I'll just very briefly mention that. I think we're at a stage now where you don't have to be a genius to know that exercise is probably the most beneficial thing for the human brain, on top of sleep. And as I said earlier on, if you're not sleeping, you're probably going to run into problems. You don't even have to be taking drugs. All you have to do is take yourself out of your circadian rhythm, or even drinking or whatever it is. You could just be not getting enough sleep, and your body will come out, your mental health will eventually come out of sync with itself, you know. But I'd like to thank the lads for coming along. It was always great listening to Jonathan and Sarah and James. Bear in Mind is basically more or less up and running now. What we want to do is provide a platform for artists in all walks of life in the industry, even festival staff and stuff like that, to have a place to come where they can get some advice, or if they need a therapist, or if they need some help with gym memberships and some of the most basic things that people need. You know, any facilities that people will be looking to get, we would like to try and subsidise that for them. So if you want to get any more information, just go onto the Bear in Mind website and give us a shout. But other than that, I'd just like you to put your hands together for the lads.